Aloha no kako, everyone. I just wanted to thank you guys so much for tuning into another episode with me with Filming 101 in Hawaii. And today I'm going to actually talk to you about a very, very important part in your filming process, and this is budgeting. Budgeting is very, very important. And before I even get into budgeting, I kind of wanted to share just a little side thought. As filmmakers, or as a person who wants to get involved in film and or wants to create story, whatever it is, whether it's going to be on your cell phone, social media, or if you're thinking about doing something more serious like a short film or a feature-length film, I just wanted you guys to really think about the cost that it involves to make films happen. It's very expensive, and I wanted to share a little bit about that to really kind of make you think what kind of film you want to do and is it possible. Now, when creating film, everybody wants to know where's the money's at. Well, where do you get your funding? How can I create this idea that I have, that I always wanted to create? Just right off the bat, the first places that you can get funding is grants. Grants, you don't have to pay it back. There's a lot of filmmaking foundations that offer these grants, and grants can go up from small as $1,000 all up into $50, $60, $100,000 for short, low budget film. But when you're filling out these grants, there are requirements that you have to hit in order to get these grants, and these are not easy. It's real specific, and usually there's a board that takes a look. Some you're gonna have native indigenous foundations, so if you have a native film, of course you'll fill out for that. And then there's other grants that's going to be more for feature films, short films, so it just depends on what kind of film that you're creating. And when you do receive funding, there are different phases that you need to hit, or different milestones. As you hit those milestones, then the funder or the foundation is going to release more money. So they do it in phases rather than just a whole lump sum of money that they're going to just give to you as a first-time producer and filmmaker. And they don't want to give you all the money one time, because what's going to happen? You're going to blow all that money because you don't know how to manage that kind of money when it's given to you. That's the reason why foundations give it in phases, so that they know that if they have any questions within the project at a specific time point, they're going to be able to ask about it. So you have foundations that you can try and get funding for your film. A next thing that you can try and do, you can do the whole social media thing. Ask people that you know, whether it be on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And then you also have these third-party kind of funders like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and also you have GoFundMe. So these are all different campaigns that you can use also to help you raise money for your film, and you don't have to pay it back. And also you can go with another type of funding, and that one you'll stab yourself over and over with knives, but it's okay. But you can go with the self-funding. So you can try and self-fund. You can work really hard. You can do whatever you like because it's your film, and you can create whatever you like because actually you're self-funding it. And I've done many projects like that, and it's okay, but it's a lot of work because it is your project and you're going to have to self-fund it. So if you have no problem with doing it that way, not saying that it's a wrong way, but then that's an option of how you can try and finish your film. So getting back to budgeting and budgeting your film, how do you do this? Where do you start? And what does it look like? When I first started, that was all my questions, is how much would my film cost? And you don't know what your film costs until you actually did a film and you get the idea and the structure to it. And then you get an idea about how you're going to actually do the breakdown of how much money you need to put aside for each phase of your film. Like I mentioned in my first film, there are 3 different important phases, and that is your pre-production, your production, and your post-production. And when I'm talking about that, I'm going to give you an example. Like for pre-production. Pre-production is when you're going to start your film. What are the things that you're thinking that you're going to have to budget for? The things that you're going to have to budget for pre-production, and you get to see it better when you do it like on a spreadsheet. I recommend that everything that I do, especially with budgeting, goes on a spreadsheet so that you know how much money you have, how much money you spent. And for the pre-production phase, there are several different categories that you want to keep in mind that you're going to set money aside for. You might want to set aside a budget to hire your own personal accountant. Your personal accountant is very valuable to have, because you're going to realize that if you're taking in monies from people or from grants, which is federal money, everything is going to have to be accounted for. And also, this is the big one in pre-production, and please note this down: insurance, right? What kind of insurance you're going to need in order to cover yourself, whether to cover your business as an LLC, whether it is to cover your employees that you're going to hire for this film, because just in case anything happens, you'll have insurance set aside to pay for any damages that might occur when you're filming. And this is just pre-production. This is just your planning stage of what you need in order for you to start your research and development. You're going to need all these different things. Moving forward, you're going to hit a next stage, which is your production. You might ask, what kind of funding I'm going to need for production? Well, you're going to need your staff funding. Who's going to be your director? Who's going to be your producer, your cameraman? Who's going to be your audio guy? Who's going to be your PA or your production assistant? You're going to need a writer, a mentor, a bookkeeper. All these different things you're going to need in order for you to do your project. You're going to think that your project is worth $5,000, and then when you add up everything, it's going to be more like $100 or $50 or $60,000, and that is just a small budget film when you hit those kind of numbers. And do you have the time, and do you have the people and the resources in order to carry this film project out? And then also, besides just your staff, we're forgetting something very important. You're going to need supplies and equipment. And also, in addition to the production budget, you're not probably even thinking about it, but you're also going to have travel expense. Travel expense for yourself, and then probably travel expense for your talents. You know, you're going to have to pay for their hotel, their gas, you're going to have to pay for their luggage, you know, their food. And these are all different expenses that you need to include in your budget. And just that alone is a lot of money. So I don't want to scare you of saying that it's not possible. It's possible. And although it's called low budget films, these low budget films can be $500,000, you know, to create a short 30-minute low budget film. If you want to do the math on it, it's kind of like, if you're trying to do a low budget film, it's like $2,000 or $3,000 per minute of a film. So that kind of gives you an idea of how much your film is going to cost. I just want to make sure that you over budget rather than you under budget. And the last stage of budgeting is your post-production. You know, you thought you had budget on that. Now you have post-production budget. Yes, you have post-production budget. Post-production budget is everything that you're going to also need in order to edit your project. Sometimes hard drives goes down, so you have to get these hard drives, and these hard drives is not cheap. It's expensive. You want to have backup hard drives. On top of that, just in case one hard drive goes down, you have a backup in order to save your footage or save your media so that you can continue on your project. And you never want to fill up your computer or your hard drive. You always want to keep space there so that your editing flow moves smoothly. Because the worst thing that you can do is you can be editing your project, you're almost done, and your hard drive shuts down or your computer shuts down, and that's like the worst feeling ever. I don't want anybody to experience that. I experienced that. It's almost a meltdown, but I was able to save everything, so everything worked out. And it's good because I learned, right? And that's why I'm trying to help you, because if you can learn from this video and if you can learn from my experience, it's going to help you to grow and watch out for all these different setbacks. I think budgeting is very important. It's a way of keeping your project realistic. Always make sure that you break it down in those 3 stages of having your pre-production, your production, and your post-production stage. And then you have a more accurate number of how much it's going to cost in order for you to do your film. And like I said, every film project is different. This is all going to help you. And I say, if you put everything on a spreadsheet, you're going to actually see the bird's eye view of what needs to be done in order to do your film, and then you're going to decide for yourself whether you can do it or not. But until next time, my name is Keoni Alvarez from Hawaii. Ahui ho!